Welcome to the Live It Right podcast, hosted by John and Caitlin Lindsay. We're going to be talking all things health and wellness, from food, fitness, relationships. So if you want to live your best life and live it right, join us for this conversation.
So whether you're a health enthusiast, a busy professional, or someone looking to achieve a more fulfilling life, you're in the right place. Tune in, subscribe, and join our community as we explore the path to living it right.
Let's go.
All right, welcome back to the Live It Right podcast. This is episode 10, and we are recapping our trip portion from Innsbruck, Austria. We are currently in Lake Garda. We were a little rushed the morning of our train ride, so we decided that we were
going to hold off a
little bit.
So yeah, when we left off, we were jumping on the train in Zurich to Innsbruck, and first off, that train ride was spectacular.
Oh my gosh.
We almost missed the train, but the train ride itself was absolutely incredible. Beautiful, efficient. I mean, it was 4.5 hours, but it felt like it went by really fast. I mean, the scenery was unbelievable.
Yeah. And I will say, it was worth, what was the difference? We booked first class tickets, which is very different than flights.
It was probably $20 or $30 per person for first class. Yeah.
But it was worth it. You have more room.
Reserved seating. You don't feel rushed.
You're not like packed in with your luggage.
You do have a waiter waiting on you, which is nice, because we did end up getting some cappuccinos. And
contrary to what some people think, it's not like flying, like the the restaurant cart or whatever was not very expensive.
Yeah, it was very affordable at the same price. Honestly, cheaper than Zurich prices, to be honest.
That's true. That's true. And the bathrooms were nice.
Yeah, it was a really nice experience. So got to Innsbruck. We Ubered to our apartment. It was about 10, 12 minutes probably. Good thing we didn't walk. It was all uphill. So.
And what was the first thing, because you've said this multiple times, what was the first thing that you were like shocked by?
The size of Innsbruck. It might not be a huge town, but the infrastructure right in the city is pretty vast, and it's a hustling and bustling place. Like, there's a lot going on between tourists, locals clearly just going about their day, and then the tourists that are there for activities too. You see and feel people that are there for outdoor pursuits, which is really cool.
Yeah. But I think we both underestimated the size of it. We thought it was going to be a little bit more quaint, I guess.
Yeah, I thought it'd be positive, which wasn't a bad thing. Like, it was great because we were there for 4 days, so it gave us a lot to walk around and do on our downtime. But yeah, I was expecting it to be pretty possible for us to walk from the train to our Airbnb, which would have been possible, but with a few bags, would have taken the rest of the afternoon. So
yeah, it was
worth getting the Uber, that's for sure.
For certain. I will say, just like Zurich, I guess like I hadn't done my homework on things. So darn clean.
Yeah, really
like
clean.
You don't see flipping trash. Like, you see stations where there's like 10 different receptacles of like glass, plastic, trash,
cardboard,
everywhere.
Everything.
It
organic
is so
material.
darn clean.
Yeah, they break it down into
like
everything.
You don't see trash at all.
Really nice.
So it was really clean. It was really nice. We got settled in our place, which we loved. It's, I guess the best way to explain it was,
it's on the other side of the river. So Innsbruck proper is Innsbruck, the old town, is pretty flat, I would say, with level with the river. On the opposite side of the river, it does go uphill immediately. We were about a quarter mile up that hill, but it was great. I mean, it ended up being a great starting point for our bike rides, for the hike we went on.
And it was a house split into what was it, like 5 or 6 condos?
Yeah, really
basically.
Nice, nicely laid out. Probably
beautiful view.
500 square feet. Had a pool, an above ground pool, but that was actually really nice because it got a little spicy and toasty. So,
and the one thing we
nice
did not
to come
realize,
home and jump into that thing.
No AC except for the grocery store, which you have to have that for food. You hear about that, but I didn't realize there was literally no AC anywhere. But it was nice because we ate outside everywhere we ate.
Yep.
We were always outside anyways, but it wasn't. I mean, we're used to the heat.
The one problem for us is we do go to bed kind of early. Like we were probably asleep by 10 p.m. every evening. And it doesn't hit peak coolness really probably until like 1 or 2 a.m. So, I mean, it takes, like by the time you're kind of stirring to wake up in the morning, it feels awesome because you've cracked a window.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it is a little hot. But, I mean, you just put one sheet on and you don't cuddle too much. So,
yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, it's worth it for the amazingness of the views, of the activities we were able to do, all that stuff.
So you want to dive into a little bit about the food first?
Yeah, what was your favorite meal? What was your least favorite meal? Least favorite first.
To be honest, the cordon bleu.
Yeah,
it was just nothing. It was nothing special to me. And I think one thing I was talking to you about today was like there are a handful of different staple items, both in Zurich and Innsbruck, that I feel like there's not a lot of variety to play with them, like pasta or pizza or American food, I guess, in a way. It's
Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah, there's one kind of primary way that you enjoy it. But the cordon bleu, I know that might cause a little bit of frustration with some people. It just did not impress me at all.
Yeah, and to preface that with saying we did eat that at what people would probably call a touristy place.
Yeah.
Awesome, very scenic, right in the city center, nice. But it tasted too familiar, would probably be the best way to say it. Like it tasted too Americanized.
Yeah. But I will say so.
But other things we had there were great.
Oh, for sure. So I guess to start out, I mean, we kind of knock out. We're not, even at home, we're not big breakfast people. Do I wish that I could enjoy full, spread of brunch? Yes, but like the way our lifestyle is, like we just don't do breakfast the way some people do. So rather than overspend, breakfast didn't seem to be a big thing. Breakfast doesn't seem to be a big thing in Europe, period. It's like pastries.
Yeah.
So
coffee house, grab and go.
So unfortunately, the place that we stayed in, they recommended a bakery. However, they were still on holiday. So we found, which not unfortunate, another bakery right down the street. There was a bakery as well as a grocery store right down the street next to each other that we just got pastries from every morning, which was fantastic. I will eat those until I'm laid to rest. They're just, I love pastries, croissants, all of them. So that was breakfast. I made some homemade sandwiches for lunches, getting
Very
fresh
good.
bread.
Yeah.
So
Same bakery had fresh bread. We'd grab a baguette.
And we got some local meats cut, fresh cheese, and that was just kind of, I mean, we were always on the go, so lunch on the go was also a good thing to have. We went to the market the first day, something that I wanted to do. Got some local yogurt, butter, milk, berries, things like that, just to kind of mix things up, taste some of the local stuff. But I guess really just to dive into where we explored or dove into local cuisine was at dinner. And first night, I will say, let's reel it back a little bit. The first night, it may have been touristy, yes. However, the sunset was unreal. And we had a front row seat to it.
Too.
Yeah.
Just the light kind of coming through the buildings.
Oh, yeah. And we sat literally right under the golden roof. And if you don't know what the golden roof is, Google it. It's, a quintessential thing that you need to see when you go to Innsbruck. But
right in the most attractive area of town.
Yeah. And I had some sort of, it was pork with bacon and capers in a white wine sauce, I believe it was, with this side dish. Still do not know how to pronounce it. I need to actually look that up. It almost looked like we talked about it. Very, very soft, those really soft, thick macaroni and cheese noodles.
Yeah, with like no hole. Like they were like...
Right. They were dense.
Yeah, very dense. And
it was delicious. It was that was a side that we had with that and the last night, the onion roast. But what did you have?
I had a bratwurst.
Oh, that's right. With the potato salad. Or no,
that was in Innsbruck. That was
right.
in Zurich.
Sorry.
Bratwurst with a giant thing of sauerkraut, which at first I was kind of like, holy shit, that's a lot of sauerkraut. What is up with this? But it was delicious. It's unlike, most sauerkraut I've had. It's not as it's not as crunchy. It's not as sour of a taste. It tastes appropriately. Like, I mean, this is a big, large portion, and you're like, I don't know if I can handle all that flavor, all that crunch, but it tastes like, oh man, I'm meant to eat a lot of this. So it was really nice, and bratwurst was just it looked like kind of an oversized foot-long hot dog, but really good flavor. A nice portion of mustard on the side as well.
And the
really
way that
good
the
classic
combination
dish.
that made was really good. The last thing I will say is, like, if you think, just to explain the way that their sauerkraut is it's the difference between using the fat side of your shredder when you shred fresh cheese and using a zester. That's the best way I thought about it. It wasn't big, thick chunks of cabbage. It was so fine. It was delicious. That's the best kraut I've ever really had. Good. So, but anyways, moving into the next day.
So the first day we also got our bike rentals, picked them up, took them back to the apartment. And then that second day there, we did our biggest ride, which was close to 70 miles, over 5K feet of climbing. And that was awesome. It's tough to describe the scenery, but it's like, I mean, if you've seen those Switzerland Instagram videos of scenery that just looks like too incredible to believe, that's what it was. Like, it was just cruising through,
so
like,
breathtaking it looks fake.
Idyllic countryside sceneries.
Cows in the middle of the road.
Cows in the middle of the road. Cows that look like they've been living in the wild and just look so robust and healthy. Nice rivers flowing creeks flowing right beside you, like these.
I wish we could have gotten more content from it, but I was huffing and puffing.
Yeah, it was over a 10-mile. It was over a 10-mile climb that was over 4,000 feet of climbing.
Yeah. So that was
Strava
crazy.
told me that was my biggest climb to date. So
it was mine.
You
hey,
know that's tough.
We stopped halfway up.
Apple strudel.
At this tiny little town had an apple strudel, which was
and a double espresso, and
so good.
Yeah,
we were
that
good to
got
go.
us through. That was perfect. Dinner that night was the cordon bleu night, which was, again, not terrible, but just you're expecting a little bit more, I think, is probably the best way to put it.
What was the other thing we had?
But we both had soups. My soup was a little subpar. Yours was that bacon dumpling or speck dumpling soup. That was really good, but we had one later that was better.
Yeah.
And then we had another pork dish, pretty good, but the next two nights were better food-wise.
So the next two nights, I will say before he can hit on our activities for the days, but I don't even know how to pronounce the restaurant. We've tagged them. We will tag them in like the show notes if you want to.
German's a tough language.
It was a 22
we got some
minute
photos of their menus and stuff. So
it was a 22-minute hike, literally. And when I say hike, it was straight up from our apartment. So it was probably 35, 40 minutes from downtown Innsbruck.
Yeah, you're probably climbing over 500 feet of elevation.
Worth every step.
Yep.
The scenery was unreal. The food was unmatched. We were the only Americans there, which is a good thing. And the food we had a dumpling trio the first night, which was bacon, cheese, and spinach, which ironically this spinach one was his favorite.
It's the spinach and the speck, the bacon were boiled dumplings.
Yeah.
The cheese was flattened and pan fried.
It almost looked like a really thick hash brown, if you want to think of it that way.
The cheese one, The other two were
legit, like
tough to describe. They were
the size of a tennis ball.
Good. And the spinach one looked like it was a ball of guacamole, kind of. Didn't taste like that at all, but it was like just.
So they say they dry everything
really
out.
Good.
And then they boil
came
it
with kraut.
Kraut.
Those three.
Yep. And then we had a flippin' ribeye.
Just a perfectly seared ribeye. I mean, nothing. I don't want to say nothing special, but. Just we've had ribeye before, but it was a perfectly seared ribeye.
But it was local meat.
Yeah, and how is a perfectly seared ribeye not going to be good?
Exactly.
And some really good hand-cut French fries, too. I mean,
yeah.
And the pricing, like, we paid less for that meal. And we had, I think I had a pretty large beer. You had a pretty good-sized glass of wine. And we had a little appetizer as well. That meal was significantly less than 2 burgers in Zurich.
Yeah.
significantly less. So, I mean, at this point in our trip, we're like, oh, the food's getting better. It's
Yeah.
getting better. It's getting more affordable.
Well, and one thing,
And you're getting more bang for your buck.
yeah, we'll let you dive into, again, the activity piece of it so that we worked up an appetite for this. But one, this is the first time in our relationship ever that we have traveled and gone to the same place twice.
Yeah.
And two, a big takeaway was understanding that sometimes to get the most local experience, it really does involve taking a step outside of the main area, which, you know,
There was, I think both nights we saw multiple taxis going up there too. So it was, I think it was known amongst locals, or maybe not locals to Innsbruck, but local Germans, Austrians, that, hey, that's a dope place to go to. So,
but I married the movement journey. We do not take taxis. We walk.
yeah, well, if I'm walking, you're walking. You wouldn't let me walk by myself. So.
Exactly. Yeah, it was fine. It was
Yeah.
worth it. You know what? You burned off, and it was really nice. The last thing I'll say about that is there was a little trail that you could take to dinner. It just, every little thing was just so, we felt so local. I felt like an Austrian.
It's an experience.
It
it's
really was.
nice.
So what did we do to burn the calories to work up the appetite?
So earlier that day, I did a 27-mile bike ride. A little more low-key than the previous day, but it was really nice through the countryside. Nice 2.5-mile climb in there, about 1,200 feet during the climb. And got to cruise through some really cool villages. So that, plus a big meal, I think we passed out early.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next night, I think after that awesome meal, we knew, okay, we're going back to that restaurant. Because that was...
Shout out Maria.
Yes, that was our waitress. The next day, loaded up double pastry breakfast kind of morning because we did an epic hike that we knew was going to be hard. I think it was harder than expected too. It was to what's called the top of Innsbruck, where you can take a gondola up there. We did not. We hiked it, and it was, I wouldn't say it was sketch, but it was kind of sketch.
It was a different kind of sketch. Like, we've done some hikes where I have actually been like shaking because there've been drop-offs. This, it was like, if I had missed my step, I would have gone rolling down a hill. However, it was flipping steep. I was on all fours.
I'm sure. In certain sections, it was definitely more than a 45-degree incline.
Oh,
like,
and at
just
one point,
the nature of the features to
Yeah.
get you up, like ladders on their sides,
Yeah.
getting up the incline. Also,
Stairs.
just kind of sort of naturally built steps that were like, I mean, it was freaking steep. It was right about 4,000 feet of climbing in under 5 miles to get up.
it was crazy going. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
crazy.
we went a little different way down.
But it was
Just-
cool because we walked down what we came to find out was a ski slope.
Yes.
Because it was still flipping steep.
The skiers out there, kudos to you guys,
Yeah.
because that shit
Kudos
looks
to y'all.
that shit looks crazy.
But
so.
it was. I mean, the view was worth it. It was incredible. It's one of those things. Like, if you hike, you understand. When you've worked for it, that view is 10 times.
Yeah, and
more
just
awesome.
like that first bike ride too. It's one of those
Yeah.
views. It's tough to put into words because it is. When you get such a spectacular view, I don't know if you're just conditioned to it, but it looks like a painting. Like, it just looks surreal. Like, it's so surreal.
We kept trying to take photos and videos, and we were
Just
like, this doesn't do it justice
Yeah.
at all.
It's, if you want epic views, Innsbruck is a great spot.
That was
to
one
hang out
thing that
for
we
sure.
talked about is it didn't matter if we were in the apartment downtown on the top of Innsbruck at dinner, wherever it was, you look around, there are immaculate views everywhere. It was absolutely stunning.
Yeah. And so the top of that hike, Rudu made an epic sandwich like she'd been making all week, or the whole time we'd been there. Baguette, local ham, local cheese, really freaking good. And when we got back, this was, I think every time we got back from activity, this was sweet to have a little plunge pool, like just an above ground pool at the apartment, because it was freaking hot, and we just dove in there, probably chilled for 45 minutes, an hour, and then we walked around town, went back to our favorite restaurants, had another great dish.
We had a
Onion roast.
We had a double bacon dumpling soup.
Yes.
To start. Sorry, can't get that out. Then we had an onion roast, which I wasn't sure what it was. Basically, in American terms, was basically caramelized onions in a thick,
really slow
almost
roasted
like,
beef,
yeah,
like a chuck roast or something.
yeah, with
That same the same pasta thing we had on the first night.
which
I don't
I
know
need to
what that
figure out how
is,
to
but
say
it's
it.
like it's like thick macaroni noodles.
Yeah.
That are denser, don't have the hole.
Yeah.
And it was really freaking good.
And then the dessert we were supposed to try, I cannot pronounce it. It's basically a super thick pancake broken into pieces and served with like
cranberry and apple puree.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they were backed up in the kitchen and they said that it takes over 90 minutes to make.
It's a complicated dish.
So
it is a super thick pancake.
So they ended up making us what I would translate, because I don't know exactly what she said, was a sweet crepe
with ice cream,
stuffed with ice cream, drizzled with chocolate sauce, and dusted with powdered sugar.
And it was good. Yeah,
it was good.
It was really good.
It was good. Honestly, I don't know if we could have downed that pancake. Anyways, we might have found room. But
yeah, we definitely would have.
Yeah.
Next morning, we caught the train here to Garda.
Yeah.
And we got up, did a quick workout, had some awesome. I think the best pastry we had was that morning. I had a cream cheese pastry. You're a chocolate girl, so maybe not, but I love that cream cheese pastry. And then we took the train here, and it was 3 trains. We were worried about that. Wasn't that bad. It was a little just kind of head on a swivel all day, but we bought a bottle of wine, and that chills you out a little bit. So
well, it was because the all 3 opportunities to train with reserved seating and a little bit more of a direct route were booked. So we took regional trains, which honestly, you immerse yourself. We talked to some great people. I think my biggest takeaway.
Some people did have to stand on the train, but we were just the nature of where we caught them. We had seats right together, and we were comfortable the whole time, no problem.
But I think one of my biggest takeaways from Innsbruck, to kind of backtrack a little bit before we move forward, is it was clean. People were so kind, and I know we both agree their trail system, whether it be hiking or biking, was pristine.
Unbelievable, yeah. And
everywhere you looked, there was opportunity to do that.
That's a type of town where you're never going to be the most badass person in that town.
Yeah.
There's people doing the most the craziest shit there in the best way possible. Like,
I'll never forget that old man running down the hiking trail we were hiking up in fear.
Had to be 65 years old.
Just crushing it. And he was like, this is great.
And the bike climb we were doing, we were probably less than a mile into it, already struggling a little bit. It's a hard freaking climb. This guy passes us, and we just say some like pleasantries, and he goes, "This is my 3rd time today." And he referenced they were doing some sort of challenge today, but he was gone out of our sight in 2 minutes. So
we're not terrible bikers, but goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's an inspiring place to be if you like outdoor activity. Food I thought was well priced, especially coming from Zurich. Pretty good food, I will admittedly say, because we've been in Italy for basically a full day now. It's not as good as Italian food.
Nothing tops Italian food.
And it still is. It's not inexpensive.
No. I would go back to Austria. I would go to a different area. I would definitely bike more, definitely hike more. Yep. But I would definitely go back for sure. Yeah, I feel like we tapped out Innsbruck, but
you find the right food places. It's really, really good and solid. Good markets and great train system too. Getting from Zurich to Innsbruck was awesome. Yeah. And honestly, the first train out of Innsbruck was incredible too. So from Innsbruck to Brenner, you go through the Brenner Pass was, it's that scenery. We're just like,
again,
how is this real? How is this real?
Yeah.
How is this real? So,
but anyways, we have a dinner reservation.
We do, yes.
So we're out of here. But we will recap
Garda. We're 24 hours into Garda. It's awesome. Excited to tell you more about it.
Yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
Ciao.